Alrighty. What time is it?
9:30.
9:30. Time to start the meeting. However, we can't start it yet until
You bang. Bang the door.
Oh, you made it just in time. Just in time. All right, on-time drawing. Yeah. What do we have? All right, what are we giving away? It's an epic kind of day. And by the way, Epic, or Shawnee, brought the snacks, and she made her amazing date bread. Amazing. So we have an Epic mug, we have an Epic mouse pad, we have a pen, we have a tape measure. And of course, the most valuable thing here is Shawnee's business card. So call her for all of your lending needs. Who's the winner?
Me.
It is number 7. Number 7. And
You are.
it
I
is.
think you are. No?
I told you. You're trying to make out with me.
We're all
You see, I do love you, Marino.
I tried to do it.
It wasn't great. It really wasn't great. You all saw the number. All right, let's get going. We have a full house. Facebook, check in on Facebook. Actually, don't check in yet. Go throughout the hour. Take some pictures, take some selfies, take some group pictures. Make sure that when you do check in toward the end, use the hashtags up here when you do check in. Rev Up is coming up. Tomorrow is Financing the Sale Mortgage Basics. Jim is the instructor on that one. Then Monday, Establishing Your Brand and Developing Your Farm. John will, and that one's only via Zoom. The others listed here are live in the office here and via Zoom. Next Wednesday is Residential Listing Agreement. I will be the instructor on that one. And then next Friday is Finding Motivated Sellers and Preparing to Win the Listing. All right? I don't have a slide for the next. However, I want to introduce Nathan Adkins here. So Nathan is one of our agents. He's an agent right here. He's on the Petrosian team. And he's running for office. So he's going to tell us why we need to vote for him, but more importantly, why we need to vote.
Oh boy, the cameras came out.
So
So good morning, everybody. Yes, I am out of this office. I am on the team, and unfortunately, I'm not as active as I'd like to be, although Justin does help me from time to time. I am running for office, so I'm running for mayor of North Las Vegas, but at the same time, I also, why I'm wearing the shirt is, I opened an IV vitamin mineral place over on West Flamingo, so we have a business that just opened. Our big kickoff is Saturday. Voting, though, more
I didn't
important.
say you can plug your business.
I know, I put that in there quick.
You want to tell them no, Mark?
So, more importantly though, one of the things I talk about quite frequently when I'm doing a lot of town halls, which by the way aren't very well attended, is people should get engaged and get involved. And especially at your local level, you have no idea how important it is to know who these judges are. They really affect your lives. Who your city council is, they really impact your lives. Who your school board is, they really impact your lives. So it's very important to vote in general. So I am a former Army veteran, combat veteran. I fought for your right. So I am not one of these people to tell you you have to vote. You don't have to do anything.
Thank you.
You should never lose your right though. Make sure no one ever takes your right away from you. But it's your right, so exercise your right as you feel. However, remember, when you don't exercise that right, you get whoever everybody else is picking for you. And so by not participating, you're not having a chance to pick the person you want. And last thing I'll say on this, more importantly, is understand who you're picking. Don't just pick the name you see on the billboards the most, or the name you think is the most popular, or even your friend. I tell my friends directly, go see my black friend. Hear what I'm talking about. Watch what I say. Right? I appreciate you as a friend voting for me just because I'm your friend, but I may be garbage for the position, and so you may hear me talking about things and go, "Oh man, you suck," and you wouldn't pick me because I was your friend. You should listen to what they're talking about doing, and why they're going to be doing what they're doing. Also, a lot of them are incumbents, right, or former politicians in different arenas, and they love to talk about things like, I wrote this bill, or I did this, or we did that, or all these things they've done for you. But you know what your reality is. When you look over the bow of your boat and you see none of what these promising things are they said they did, well, what difference did it make that they did all those things if it didn't have any direct value in your life, right? It doesn't mean anything. So it's a lot of times I've found, is because this is my first time ever running for office, what I've found more importantly is a lot of things are done so that they can impress themselves upon you to get your vote, right? Not necessarily to do what needed to be done. Yes, ma'am.
What are your goals to help people out there? How do we vote for you, and why would we have to vote for you?
Okay, so why am I running for office? I'm running for office for mayor of North Las Vegas simply because I'm a former corporate executive. I'm very versed in running large organizations. I believe that cities are businesses and cities should be run like a business. They're not political entities, there are politics to it. I have had organizations sell at the political level. I've sold to municipals as well. So there are rules and regulations as to how they can buy things, how they can do things, how they can operate. So it's not your standard business, although big corporations have rules to how they buy things too. So it is pretty similar. My whole point of it is when you talk about North Las Vegas in particular, for me, there's a branding issue. People have a tendency to believe that North Las Vegas isn't as nice as it really is. It isn't as safe as it really is. Now, there are some issues that need to be cared for and cleaned up, that is for sure, without a doubt. But it's not what people try to pretend it is. It is a very affordable option, and it is a very nice option, which brings me to affordability. Right now, the buzzword is affordable housing, affordable housing, affordable housing. In my opinion, no one's asking for affordable housing, because affordable housing is what's the average cost of a house, and then who fits within that average or slightly below. That's affordable, right? North Las Vegas is extremely affordable. What they're asking about is low-income housing or cheaper housing because the housing prices have gotten so high. There's a difference between affordable and being able to afford. So when you talk about cheap housing, we have a project that's being done on the east side of North Las Vegas. It's going to be filled 80% with people who earn 60% below the average wage. So I won't put you through the math, they're earning slightly below $30,000. So if I fill this building with 80% of people who earn less than $30,000, and the other 20% supposedly are gonna pay market rate for their places, because those people are gonna get 60% off the rent. So let's just say $1,700 for Nathan and $700 for me, right? He's gonna be moving out pretty soon once he realizes he's in an environment that's 80% filled with people who really can't afford to live there. And of course, some of what comes with it. And what I'll say is, it's not always the individual, it's what comes with the individual, right? So they may move in and be wonderful people, but then their cousin comes by and they bring their friends, and so that type of stuff happens on a frequent basis. Coming from a city like Chicago, which is where I was born and raised, I'm very familiar with what low-income housing is, what project housing is, and how we solved problems in Chicago wasn't when we put them all in one high-rise building and shoved a bunch of poor people in an area and isolated them where there was no grocery stores and no businesses and no anything. It was when we took and integrated them in working class communities, lower middle income communities, and they got an opportunity to see working models. Even if they didn't see it in their home, they saw it in their community. And that's how we saw the cycle break from poverty and low income when you give them places in which they can see a positive example of how to move forward. Pushing them in a place of despair where everybody's in the same boat and that boat is sinking, it's a difficult thing to get out of. And there are people who get out of it, I won't deny that fact, but you usually always talking about 1 out of 1,000, right? Versus the other model where you're talking possibly 1 out of 100, so you've got a greater success rate. Any other questions?
So we have to live in North Las Vegas to vote for you?
Being from Chicago, I would say you don't, but.
So most of us here don't live in North Las Vegas, but we know people in
You
North
have
Las
to
Vegas.
live in North
so
Las
we
Vegas,
can't-
yes.
Honestly, I just.
Vote early, vote often.
Yes, yes. And sometimes from the cemetery, that's, you know, we have that stigma and reputation being from Chicago. I don't think it's fair or true, but, you know, and it's lasted a long time since the Kennedy presidency, and I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. Just like the reason we're the Windy City is not because it's windy, but it was in the 1800s of blowhard politicians who were pontificating, and there was a newspaper writer who wrote Chicago the Windy City, and he was talking about these blowhard politicians, but it became the Windy City, right? It's much windier here, by the way. Any other questions real quick before we wrap up? Well, I appreciate all of you giving me your time. As we get the business stabilized, you probably will start to see me more here because I would like to do more. Real estate's a big thing for me. When I was in Chicago, I owned real estate and was a landlord and a rehabber, and so this is a profession that I really respect and appreciate and want to get more involved in. We've just got too many irons in the fire right now.
How long you been a realtor?
How long have I been a realtor? Enough time to have had to take the test again after the test. So I think I'm in my second year. Because the first year you have to re-certify, and then it's every 2 years. So now I'm on the 2-year track. So I've been a little over a year.
Welcome to our family.
Awesome. So like I said, you know, most of us don't live in North Las Vegas. However, we know people, so we can talk to them about Nathan.
You do.
Not yet. It'll be pretty darn close. All right. So blood drive coming up July 18th, right here, pretty much post day 10 to 4. I will be signing up. I'll be giving blood. I do often. Happy hour. Woohoo! Last Friday of every month, so this one is June 24th. We have a little bit of wait, a few weeks, but the last Friday of every month we do a nice happy hour. All right, I failed last week.
Oh yeah.
The week before I was the only one in my team jersey, and then last Friday I completely forgot. So tomorrow I will not forget. I will be wearing a team jersey. I haven't decided which one yet.
Definitely not Angels.
Probably not the Angels.
13 in a row, 14.
14.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
All right, so Team Spirit every Friday. Next week's meeting is going to be Kathy Haney. She goes by Red as her nickname. She's the trainer for the Matrix, everything MLS. And many of you have noticed that there's a new One Home that has come out. And it's kind of confusing at times. And she's going to come and teach us all about the One Home. So that's next Thursday's meeting.
That's Friday. You put Friday on that.
That is Thursday. The 16th is Thursday, but that
Where-
will say Friday.
Where's Nicole? It is Thursday.
Mark, she haven't changed in 12 years. She
It's
looks the
Thursday. I know she hasn't. Yeah.
same. She looks the same.
Mine says she hasn't changed in 12 years. She really hasn't. She looks exactly the same. All right, real quick. We're not going to talk about Remind. We're going to talk about transaction desk going away and being changed to Sky Slope forms. I just reached out to Pat and Justin this morning. Hey, when is it going to be changed? And I guess they've gone into it, and this is Sky Slope. It has nothing to do with Realty One, but they've already gone into Reno. They're just waiting for LVR's approval here for all the documents. So everything will be done within Sky Slope now. We don't have to create something over here in Transaction Desk or Remind. And I got a little peek at it a few weeks ago, and it looks really, really easy to use. Much easier than Remind. You hate Remind, right? Yeah. Who here? I mean, I've talked to a few agents that actually like it. Anybody like it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. It serves its purpose.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So when you're opening a transaction, then like creating docs, it's automatically going to open for SkySlope, I'm gathering.
Yep.
So we'll do that. And then will there, I mean, is there something, I can't remember because I don't do it, Martha does, but where they're going to click something that will automatically put it into mine as a team lead?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, because, you know, now how we,
Yeah.
you know, she opens it and then sends them.
I imagine it would, but yeah, we'll wait and see on that.
So is there going to be a,
Training.
difference in regards to, like, not all our transactions go to deals, like if you go on a listing presentation or a buyer's group, or, so if you open it up, fill the forms on Sky Slope, does it, like he said, automatically open a transaction?
I'm not sure. Yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Okay.
Signatures on this too.
Are they? It's smart, because mine is very clunky. Shawnee, what's going on? Again, she made her wonderful date cake, which was
Very
amazing.
good, thank you.
Not good for my diet, but I ate it.
I know, I'm not helping you guys if you're on a diet. But, today I just want to share the good news. I don't know this program who's gonna qualify, but whatever the name, have you heard of 3-2-1 buy down? It was in 90s. There was a product. I haven't done loans back then, but this is basically new to me as well. But I heard since the cost of living is high, if people are worried about their monthly payment and the rates are not helping us either, right? So they can get a 3% interest rate, and it's gonna break down eventually by 4th year. The basic interest rate is gonna go back to the current rate, whatever the rate right now. So let's say interest rates are gonna go down after 3 years, they can refinance and get a lower rate. But as of right now, they can qualify for the 3% interest rate and get a lower payment and qualify for the home loan. So I'm gonna pass it down this flyer. You can come and meet me. We have a training today after 2, how to structure the loan. I will have more details after the meeting, after the training. So I know you will have a lot of questions. I can answer whatever the knowledge that I have right now. But there is a program right now going on, 3-2-1 buy down.
So when you say at the 4th year, it goes to the current rate, does it go to the current rate of
At
that
the-
4th
no.
year or today's? rate?
Today's rate.
Wait
So,
for 4 years.
yeah, so at that time, after 3 years, if the rates are hopefully lower, they can refinance. But at least now, they can qualify for the purchase.
Sure.
So-
At 3%.
At 3%.
Yeah, 3%, 3-2-1.
Is that a conventional or FHA or what is it?
Whatever the loan product that they are gonna qualify, they have the option 3-2-1 buy down. And lender concessions, seller concessions. I know market is getting softer, so your sellers, if they are willing to give credit towards the closing, now it's the time. They have to be creative also. They can't be greedy and ask for the full price. So just be creative and talk to your sellers, and if they have a serious buyer, we can help them. Okay, just see me after the meeting. I can help you
Awesome.
with answers.
Thank
All right, Felicia, what is going on with Rock Title?
Hey, good morning, you guys. Well, a lot. Always a lot, right? But we want you guys to feel like we are at your service. And I hope you guys have that feeling when we're here in the office every single day, every single week. I'm glad that Brad and Eugenia have joined us. You have 2 of our wonderful escrow officers that are here on Thursdays at your service. Stephanie and I here at your service. In the marketing area, we do have a card with their info on it. This is introducing our entire team across the valley. Grab one, have it at your fingertips. We also have our customer service team on the back. How many of you know any of the customer service people? Who knows Anthony? 2? Just 2? Anthony, yes. And we've got Jackie, and we've got Stephanie Pinto. So if you're getting emails from those names, get to know their face, and they're gonna be joining us soon on some of the meetings. They're gonna hop in, say hi, so that you guys can put a face to the name. Couple new flyers over there in the marketing area. Please, on your way out to the restroom, grab a flyer. We have a new one that is Services Include. This is your concierge services from Rock Title. You might not know that we can give you some services that you have never known about. So please grab a flyer and also give us a call. Let us know if you have a question about something that's on your mind or an idea, and we're happy to sit with you and see if we can get that to happen for you in your business. So next one is opening escrow checklist. definitely grab this. This is going to highlight a couple things that you may not think about when you're opening your escrows, and it's just really a nice guide to make it more efficient for you guys. But those are available as well. If you have a team, grab some of these. Great for new agents as well, so they can start their new file just more efficiently, smoothly, and get that transaction just as smooth as possible for
You know, I
them.
was reading through this, and it's a lot of really good information for new agents
Yeah.
and experienced agents.
Yeah, so if you know somebody that needs one as well, please grab one. It's very, very helpful. I mean, sometimes even after we've opened a lot of escrows, we don't think about some of these things, just more of a guideline, but great for just a refresher as well. Do you guys have any questions for me specifically? Any ideas, any feedback, any recommendations, anything going on that we should know as title reps so we can help you with your business? Anything at all? Everyone's just kind of like
Speak now.
smiling and just going, what's that?
Speak now, silence forever.
I know, yeah. Well, we're here. We've got great ideas for you, and we appreciate you guys so much. Have a great week. See you guys on Saturday, some of you. So if you have questions for Brad or Eugenia, escrow-wise, we'll be back here in a little bit.
Thank you.
Ask somebody, like, if you're not going to the event on Saturday, I'd be happy to buy your tickets. So, let me know.
Who's all going on Saturday? Who doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about?
Oh, the picnic, summer theater.
Spring
Mary
Mountain.
Poppins.
All right, cool.
Eugenia wants to know. Tell her, because which one is the next one? She wants to know. Eugenia.
Hmm?
She wants to know what's the next one.
What's the next one?
Sister Act.
Six it
Event
up.
at the park.
Are there no more
That's
tickets
it.
available?
No, they're all sold out.
All right, next up, Mike Marino. So Mike Marino is an agent out of our Green Valley office, been in the business how many years?
17?
17 years, and he's known for his systems. And he's taught it here once before, he's taught the class a couple of times in Green Valley, and it's always very well received. One thing about Mike is, you know, people say, hey, you know Mike Marino? Yeah. And everybody says, he's such a nice guy. So let's welcome up Mike Marino, the nice guy.
Thank you guys for having me. So I got about, 40 minutes or so? So what we're gonna talk about today, it's just really simple. It's just basically having a system for everything you do, basically your schedule. So it's gonna be a little different for a new agent, an individual agent, somebody that runs a team. Everybody has their own different schedule. This is just what works for me. So what we're gonna kind of go over is your daily schedule, your weekly schedule, your monthly, and your annually. You have everything in place, you have a system to do everything. It's more or less the opposite of just winging it, which I kind of, in the beginning, you have a lot of time on your hands, you have 0 clients, you just wing it, hope the phone rings, hope for the best. This is kind of the opposite of that. So I've been in the business 17 years, so it's taken me a long time to get to this point. So there's gonna be things that you're gonna see on here that may not work if you don't have your database or your client base built up yet, but there are things on here to show you how to build that up. So the name of the class was actually, it's funny, when I started working from home and going into the office every day, Wally came in, he was our old, you guys know Wally, our old broker, comes in and sees my computer screen set up, which I'll show you here, and he said, what the hell are you doing with this? So I told him, I said, well, no, this is just how I work. So it's just having, and it's 6 screens run off of 1 computer. The main thing is the coffee right there. Without the coffee, you're done. So it's basically having everything open at once. It's having everything, the headset on, the coffee, you have kind of, I have a little spreadsheet here with just some sample scripts. We all have scripts that we use, not necessarily verbally when the phone rings, but cut and paste in emails, in text messages. If you get an online lead, we'll go into all that. So it's having everything literally right here. I have a texting app right here, links to your phone, just literally, you can do a mass text, you can literally type in, Paul, hey, what's up? We wanna go see that house, and it's done in 3 seconds. The whole thing about having this set up is to work efficiently and having a system for everything. Obviously, email, phone dialer, calculator, MLS, this is, most of the class is gonna be based off my calendar. It's just Google Calendar. I don't use a CRM, I never have. And then over here is just my hard drive, And this was taken like a couple months ago. So these screens over here are usually properties that are in escrow and then active listings. So everything will have a checklist. A new listing will have a checklist. Ultimately, that turns into an escrow. And then a buyer checklist, the same thing in escrow. We'll go over all of that. And the reason why I bought those extra wide gaming monitors is so that if you get 10 escrows, 20 escrows at once, you don't feel overwhelmed. As long as you're organized. I don't have an assistant, I don't have a team, I don't have a transaction coordinator. I tried that route once, it didn't really work for me. So this is just what works for me. Again, if you have a transaction coordinator, you're still gonna wanna know where your files are at, but it's more or less just having everything there, just being very visual. Okay, and feel free to stop me at any time with questions, okay?
Just kidding.
Stop.
Just kidding.
I know it's a lot to take in, and for an experienced agent, it might be a little elementary, but just bear with me. So I think everybody will be able to take a little bit out of it. Okay, so we went over what each screen is for. So the whole point of this, like I said, it's keeping your day-to-day schedule going, but also when you get busy in the day-to-day, like I have to do a home inspection, I gotta go to a photo shoot. It's also spending that 60 minutes or 90 minutes a day talking to your pipeline so that you're busy next month, so you never neglect that. And it's all about the time management. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to calendar. Most of the class is gonna be based off of calendar and Excel. So here's that texting app, this is pretty cool. So like, for example, really easy.
What's it called?
Yeah.
It's called Mighty Text.
What's it?
Mighty?
Mighty Text.
Like Mighty Mouse?
It's Mighty Mouse's cousin. Mighty Text. Clearly come to save the day.
Is that available for Apple now? Because
I don't think so. No, I think Apple might have
Android
something.
only.
Correct.
Oh.
So perfect example, I'm gonna show you how. Oh, yeah, so you guys have iPhones?
So it's Android.
Well, they're different.
Look,
What is it?
it's got like a screen protector and everything. It's an actual phone. So this is actually really cool. So I'm gonna show you something here. So literally, I mean, it's,
The one that Apple
I just
has.
texted Paul, but if you wanna go and create a group text, if you wanna create a timing text, if you wanna say, I'm gonna send this text message to these 100 people at 2:30 in the afternoon every Tuesday, you could set it up, and it's, I try to do everything manual, organic. I don't like the whole bots thing that sounds mass produced. But if it's like, hey, just checking in, call me because the market has changed the past 3 weeks, send that out to 100 people, you'll get 10 calls back. So that's just the texting app. So like I said,
I use my text, it's awesome.
Might you use it too?
Of course I have Android.
Nice. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of go over, I know it looks confusing, but it's actually very organized, everything's calm, everything's gonna be okay. But what I wanna do is I'm gonna fast forward to like a few months in the future where I don't have any actual appointments set. So this is kind of what the class is. So this is my core schedule. Once I get close to this, I'm gonna start plugging in listing appointments, showing appointments, this and that. But this is, like I said, there's gonna be daily tasks, there's weekly tasks, and then there are monthly and annual. There are some that you do quarterly, but however you do it, whether it's marketing, social media, YouTube, we'll get into all that. This is just what works for me. So the whole point of this is just having something in place so you stick to it every day. And if you have your 3 main sources, whether it's social media, farming, and past clients, or if it's sphere of influence, door knocking, whatever it is, just make sure you have those in your calendar. So just kind of, let me see. So Monday morning, I'll set up just a few minutes to get caught up from the weekend. There's a lot of times emails over the weekend, unless it's like really important. Deal with it on Monday. I try to take, Sundays off. I'll kind of show you that. Every morning for an hour or so, I usually start around 8:30 or 9. I don't work like 70, 80 hours a week. I've learned how to close 60 transactions a year and still work like more or less 45 hours. So that's the whole thing. Yes, I can sell 100 houses and I can work 90 hours a week. I don't want to. So this is more or less how I have it set up. So I work about 8:30 to about 6:30 at night, take an hour off in the middle of the day. Pretty normal schedule for the most part. A lot more normal than when me and Paul worked at the MGM in 1998, 100 hours a week, which is where a lot of this discipline comes from, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so an hour every morning, emails, escrow, and listing management. It's really simple. Catch up on all your emails. like I said, even when I had a transaction coordinator, I'm still spending an hour every day going through each file. And for example, like when I go here, where is this picture? So this was at a time, I think I had 7 or 8 in escrow. It's literally just going down each file. And this is just a screenshot. It's not an actual Excel, but it's like, okay, on this file here, I know that the buyer just needs to wire their money. On this one, we need to schedule a signing. This one, we're just waiting on loan approval. So it's literally just going through every single day and just making a checklist. So I'll show you when I go back to the daily, like today, you know, there's 3 or 4 things that have to be handled as it pertains to houses we have in escrow. So this is, like I said, just the blank boilerplate. Listings, if you have, whether it's active listings or listings you're in the process of signing, whatever it is, if you have an active listing and it's sitting, it could just mean picking up the phone and calling the seller and saying, hey, here's a snapshot of what, you know, what's in the neighborhood, whatever. But it's just having that time spent. Like I said, I take time off in the middle of the day. I have a few things that are gonna be recurring weekly, so I do set aside a half hour in the afternoon for doing the same thing, just managing emails and escrow. So if something comes in the middle of the day, like if it's an offer or a new listing, obviously I'm gonna jump on it. But if it's something like, hey, you need to upload this, or you need to sign this, whatever, CIC receipt, I'm not gonna do that in the middle. It can get done at night, it can get done in the afternoon, but again, it's just making sure you have that on your schedule. Because if you are doing it in the middle of the day and stopping what you're doing, all you're doing is gluing yourself to the computer, you're just sitting there responding to emails. That's a waste of time. But if it's something that has to get done and you have a deadline, obviously do what you gotta do. So social media, you'll see a couple things in here. I try to do a couple different. I'm not good at it. I know that there's a lot of agents that are successful with it. It is one of the things I wanna work on, but I do try to do one post. It doesn't have to be on a Monday at a certain time. It's just something I try to do one post, whether it's like posting a cool stat or hey, they're building high rises in McDonald Highlands. And then I try to do one video a week. So you see this on Friday afternoon. I took a YouTube class, one of the agents in our office, I think she closed like 30 sales last year and 25 of them came from YouTube. And she's killing it, and I saw her channel, and I don't have that kind of, when I do a video on Facebook, it's a joke, it's me cooking something, it's not real, you know? So, yeah, you've seen it. So, the ones that do it successfully, they're getting a lot of traffic. That, to me, is something I do want to work on. So I do have it set up here on Friday. Again, it doesn't have to be on a Friday, but, for example, you have somebody that, if that's where their business is coming from, they're gonna spend more than 30 minutes or 45 minutes a week. Like I'll show you when it goes back to farming, I probably spend 2 hours a week on farming and quite a bit of money on it too because I'm getting sales out of it. Somebody that's getting that many sales, they're not gonna do as much time and money spent on farming, but they're gonna put a lot of time into social media. They might drive all the way out to the ridges and they might bring a videographer and they might do a really cool video and that's what works for them. So for me, this is just what I have set up. So these are all weekly items. Checking all my listings. Sometimes you have a listing that's vacant and it's in the hood. At least swing by there once a week to make sure it hasn't burned down yet. This, to me, I had to learn that the hard way. Yeah.
What do you mean the hood?
The hood? I can't get the specific. But I just closed one up.
We don't have hoods here.
I don't want to upset anybody yet. So anyways,
Covered my ears.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm on camera, great. So I had to learn that the hard way. It was probably a few years ago, and the owner of the house, hey, can you check on my house? And I forget what it was, but it was something like pretty obvious. And I hadn't been to the list. It was one of those listings that was just not moving. It was overpriced, so I kind of put them on the back burner. And the house, I forget what it, like maybe the lights were on or the AC, I think it was the AC or something. So I just make it a habit to at least swing by. And 9 times out of 10, everything's cool. But it's like I tell my clients, hey, I just checked on your house, you're all good. If they're in California or they're out of state, it's like, okay, Mike's got my back. So that's just something I've always done. And if your listings are occupied, you delete that. You don't have to do it. So that's just something I do. This is an interesting one. I try to take Thursdays half day. I implemented that about 2 years ago because I know we work most Saturdays. So I implemented that on my calendar, but I've yet to have a Thursday off. But it's there at least for hopes and dreams. This one is really interesting, so open house. So everybody, we have our different sources of where we get our business from. Open houses, I do have on my schedule every week. Do I do one every week? No. But since I started in 2005, before there was all the social media, the Facebook, the YouTube, you had, you had your sphere of influence, you had your mailings, and you had your open houses. That's the old-fashioned way of doing it. Anybody that's been in the business when did social media come out? 08? Pre that was open houses. So it's a matter of doing them consistently, doing them properly, where you're doing them, when you're doing them, why you're doing them, and I'll kind of go into that later on. And that's about it as far as, okay, so down here, farming. I'll go into that in a second. So my farming is more or less, you pick your neighborhoods and however it is you're gonna do it. This is not a farming class, but it is one of the things I put a lot of time and money into. And I think last year I got 12 closings out of my farm, and I spent about $15,000 on supplies. So it did pay off, but yes.
How big is your farm?
So it fluctuates, so it's probably around 3,000 doors. So if I get a neighborhood where I've been doing it for years and I do like 5 mailings in a row and I don't get a single phone call, that means that it's saturated. There's another realtor farming in that area. If I have a sale in a neighborhood, so I'll drop that neighborhood. If I have a sale in a neighborhood and I get a lot of interested neighbors, whether it be from an open house, whether it be from a postcard that I sent that says, hey, I just sold your neighbor's house, I may add them to my farm. So it's always an evolving thing, but it's always around 3,000 doors. The 3 that I started in 2005, when I started with Century 21, I was there from 05 to 08, and I've been here since 08. They said, pick the neighborhood you live in, and at the time I owned a couple rental properties, so to me it was very easy. So I picked those 3 neighborhoods. One was single family house, one was condo, one was townhome. And nobody thinks to like farm condos, but I did it, and over the years I've kept it. And in one of the condo communities, it's like 140 units, it's in Green Valley, and out of 140 units, I probably sold 50 of them over the 15 years. So it works. Yes, back in the day, they were only 80 grand a piece, but now they're 350. So like my listing appointment tomorrow, it's a 3-bedroom in there. So you just have to keep with it. Again, it's not a farming class, but you'll see, if I do my farming, I have my templates, I have everything set up. It's literally just, I don't physically sit there. I pay my nieces and my sister-in-laws, they do it. So I pay them, I get it set up, so it's not time spent, but I'm just making sure it happens. And this one here is more or less, I'll do it on a Wednesday evening or a Thursday evening. They'll come over to my house, here's 1,000 pieces of mail, fold it, put it in there, put a stamp, seal it here.
So what's your product? Is it a card? Is it a letter? What is it?
It's different every time, so there's 3 basic templates. There is a business letter, and it's basically, it changes, every time I send one out, but it's more or less, this is what's sold in your neighborhood. I know everybody kind of sends that, but mine also has QR codes. It'll say something like, when it's time to sell your house, because those letters are geared towards getting sellers, not towards buyers. It says, click here if you would like to receive weekly updates customized to the Ridges or whatever. Click here if you would like the Realty One Group mobile app. And click here if you would like to check out my reviews and my past sales. So I'm driving them to a website to where they can see either I'm gonna get them on a drip weekly, or they're gonna see my reviews, or they're gonna see, they're gonna get, what was the third one? I already forgot, sorry, I need more coffee. Yes, Mark?
So Mike, again, like you said, this is not a farming class, but I don't wanna monopolize too much of your time in the future, but in the future, would you be willing to do a farming?
Of course, yeah.
Would you guys like that?
Yes.
Of course, yeah, just let me know and I'll put it on my calendar. So that's more or less having it set up. Again, if you have a team and you spend 2 hours a week doing team meetings, team trainings, put that in there. If you do 2 hours a week of door knocking, whatever it is that works for you, again, this is just what works for me. Questions? Good, okay. So let's see. So now I'm going to go back to present day.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Just because I did this years and years ago when I'd gone to classes like yours before, and I had an aha moment. So I felt overwhelmed, but what worked for me, because I did this and I was successful in my other career, and I went through and I wrote down a list. I just started with, if I was the perfect agent or if I was the perfect sales executive, what would I do every day? I would farm, I would do social media. So I just kind of started with the list of what I knew that I needed to do every day. And then I went back to the old saying, you're either working on your business or working in your business. And then I tried to segment, what's lead generation activities? and what's working on. So like earlier, you're saying you're looking at your emails, you're looking at your escrows, that's working on your business rather than in your business. And so then I broke it down. So it was like eating the elephant, you know, one bite at a time. I took the big elephant of the list, and then I started to segment it out, and then I time blocked it in my calendar.
Yep, exactly.
I did the exact same thing, and it works.
It definitely
So-
works as long as you don't let the day run away from you and you say, I've got to stop doing this because I don't want to take away from, I have 60 minutes, I need to call these 10 clients, that's 6 minutes a person, and those are the people that's your bread and butter, that's your long term. And sometimes it's hard because if you're doing that and emails are coming in like, oh man, this guy wants to cancel, this guy, you know, all this stuff that happens, or the phone rings and says, oh my God, the perfect house just came in my search, can we see it? Are you gonna sit there and call people that bought houses 10 years ago? Or are you gonna go show an $800,000 house and you could be in escrow by tonight? So it's just like you said, you have your system, you have your plan, but it's knowing where to make these quick decisions, you know? And again, if you're new, the whole point is to build up to that. If you're new, it's more or less, you know, taking the farming class, doing the open houses. The open houses is the easiest way to just add people's names. You can go out there and literally set up your laptop on a busy corner, just find an empty listing, and you'll add 10 people a day to your database. That's a whole separate class. So going back to present day, so like I said, it looks like it's really unorganized, but it just, these next 3 days just happen to be extremely busy. 2 new listings this week, 2 closings tomorrow. Saturday morning, we're signing a new listing. So more or less, the way the day is set up, like I said, so if you look at Monday and Tuesday are a lot more organized. So the idea is Monday morning, spend an hour on the computer, and then these are, you know, the 2 hours are more or less in the morning. People that you're contacting, people that are either actively looking, actively selling, maybe people that are on the back burner, and then you'll see like on a Tuesday afternoon or a Wednesday afternoon, see how they're different colors. Those are like the people that, it doesn't matter if I call them today or tomorrow, those are like every couple months, long-term past clients, but I'm doing it every week. That's probably the most important thing to me, because when you look at, and you should be keeping track of, you know, your sales per year, you should be holding a spreadsheet and saying, where did I get this one? Okay, that's sphere of influence. This one is repeat, this is referrals. This is from a Zillow lead. Whatever it is, you should be keeping track. And if your bread and butter is YouTube, then spend more time on YouTube. Or if you want to work on your weaknesses, either way, it's just knowing where to spend your time. So again, this is kind of, to me, it's a perfect day. So you have an hour in the morning, you have a couple hours of phone calls, lunch. This guy is going to be in LV in Las Vegas to show houses. A couple follow-ups in the afternoon, and then I got to watch the Celtics game on Monday night. If you haven't noticed, I'm from Boston, so everything Celtics, Red Sox.
That's a funny voice.
Yeah. Any other Bostonians in here?
No, just Warriors.
Warriors?
Yeah.
Warriors.
That's the other guy, right?
How did we do that? What's his name?
Enough. Nice little break. So again, this is kind of a normal day, but as things come up, listings are going to come up, showings are going to come up, things are going to come up. So this is just a template. This, if you look at today and tomorrow, this is like an actual day for me. So, you know, a couple issues in the morning here. These are all, you know, things that have to be taken care of. This guy needs to wire his EMD. This one needs to wire their closing funds. Obviously, I put the time to do the class here. Couple phone calls in between, final walkthrough, couple phone calls, little break in the day here, drop off a lockbox, and then I've got a buyer in town tonight from 5:30 to 7. Again, tomorrow, kind of the same thing. It's not your normal day, but everything's organized. Like, it seems like it's crazy, it's busy, but as long as everything gets handled, that's the whole point. So that is kind of the calendar, being organized, time management.
Do you have access to this calendar on your phone?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. So if I'm out just driving around, it's just Google Calendar. And I don't, like I said, I don't use a database, so everything is Google Calendar, and it's backed up in Excel. So it's more or less just, I'll show you that when I get there in a second. So let's see. So we went over social media posts. There are gonna be a couple things I do once a year, like I'll order 500 magnets from Vistaprint, like a business card calendar, and I'll send those out to my top 2 farms, which I think that's about 250. And then the other 250 go to my top 250 clients. So that's an annual event. Quarterly events are like people that bought a house years ago. They might be on a drip, but it's at least calling them or emailing them, texting them, something organically, not just like some mass-produced bot. It's more or less just making sure that they know that I'm reaching out to them 4 times a year. So that's quarterly, so that all is in here. So as far as going from a blank schedule, like if somebody is new or if you're just in a lull, you know, the whole point is, you know, how do you add and how do you get busy, how do you get more closings? Whatever it is that you're doing, whether the open house is always gonna be the easiest thing because it doesn't cost any money. Just go buy 10 signs. And there was a guy that was in our office, when he started, he's about 16, 17 years in the business. He didn't know anybody here, and I didn't go to high school or college here, so I didn't know anybody here either. So it's like, you start from ground zero, you start from scratch. He literally, and this is one of the coolest stories I've heard, he would literally just sit with his laptop in anybody's vacant listing every day, and that was his office. And people would come in and he would just get 5 or 10 phone numbers every day. And that's how he built up his business. And I think one of the people that came through one of those days ended up being like his main client. And he's one of those agents that, you know, you have a main client and that's like 80% of your business. So in the beginning, that doesn't cost a lot of money. And then whatever it is, if it's social media, if it's, you know, doing mailers, the mailers is a long, slow, tedious process. It will bear fruit long term, but it's not like quick. The open house is probably the quickest, or just give Zillow, you know, some money and they'll send you leads. So there's a lot of different, I don't have a lot of the online lead generation. I don't have a lot of the social media. I know a lot of agents are successful with it. I just personally don't do it. Every now and then I'll get a lead here and there from maybe somebody's on my website, but I don't put a lot of time into it, but I know that there are agents that do it successfully. Questions?
I wanted, for open houses, what's like the best days in Las Vegas to, you think?
So I personally, if I'm doing them, I will alternate. I'll do like a Thursday afternoon, 3 to 6, assuming it's not like 115 degrees out.
Right.
Or I'll do like a Saturday, 10 to 1 or 11 to 2. And that's just me, that's what works with my schedule. Sometimes you do a Saturday open house and everybody thinks that's the best day. And sometimes they're dead.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do one in the middle of a week and you get a ton of people. So it just kind of depends on your schedule, but I do try to alternate it.
Yeah.
Just because you have people that are not, but if you work Saturday or work,
Right.
you know, so.
Okay.
Farming, following up with past clients, and then, like I just said, like as far as your sphere of influence, as far as whether when you're starting out or consistently, if you're from here and you went to high school here, that's great. I wish, like, if I was selling real estate in Boston, I'd be calling like the 350 people I graduated with, and it's like ready-made. I came from the restaurant industry. I used to be a chef, and you know, I still keep in touch with a lot of the guys, but you know, that was almost 20 years ago. So it's digging into your past, you know, whatever groups you're in, and you know, stuff like that. So to me, I still keep in touch. Mostly, I keep in touch with them because they're still my friends. But you know, every now and then we'll go into a restaurant I used to work at, and you know, you see people, you see familiar faces. So it's also keeping in touch with people just on a human level. It's not even to try to sell them a house. Okay, so the last 3 things I'm going to show you are the checklists kind of that I follow, and this is more or less what is. So this is, I'm just going to go through this quick. It's not an open house class, but it's just basically. It's about having a system for whatever task you do. If your task is opening an escrow, taking a listing, doing an open house, starting a mailing or a marketing campaign, this is just what works for me. And again, it's not an open house class, but I will go through it pretty quickly. Check the weather, get gate clearance from the HOA. A lot of this stuff is just experience. When you've been burned by something once, you add it to your list, like the guy with the AC that was cranked for a couple months. You know, you do an open house and you get there and find out the gate doesn't work, or the gate that the HOA doesn't want you in there, your day's over. Invite another agent, a lender, a title rep, etc. Email all agents that have a client. You know, when you go into the reverse prospect, if you see somebody has it saved, I'll let them know. I know a lot of this sounds like extra steps, but you would be surprised. Like if you get one listing sold on an unconventional way, you're gonna start doing it a lot. So emailing clients, hey, I'm doing an open house. You don't even have to be there. Send your clients. They love it. They don't have to leave the house. Create a Facebook event, business page. Obviously put it on MLS and Zillow. This is just stuff I bring, all my laptops, you know. So I'm not gonna go through all of this, but that's just a quick, you know, when you see it on my calendar, I usually have it on a Wednesday. I don't do open houses on a Wednesday, but you try to put it on your schedule Wednesday for a Friday, for a Saturday, so that in those 2 days you can start doing. There's a lot of people that I know they'll start working on a Monday for an open house that they know they're doing on a Friday or Saturday. They'll print flyers, they'll go door knocking, they're saying, hey, I'm gonna be doing an open house this weekend, and I know I've taken a couple different open house classes, and there's people that are pretty successful with that. I don't get too involved into it, but again, it's if you're gonna do an open house, just make sure you have a plan. Make sure you have the time budgeted, maybe save a little bit of time after. More than once I've had happen, you're sitting in an open house, and you strike up a conversation, and these people come in, and you build a good rapport with them, and you're like, yeah, well, this is not the right house for you, but you know the one around the corner is vacant. I can show it to you. And you're like, oh, I get out of here at 2 o'clock, I'll meet you there at 2:15. So it's just doing little things like that, but if you don't have your schedule set up, you're not gonna be able to have that luxury. So then the last two things I'm gonna go into are, they're gonna be a little bit elementary, I think, for some people, but it's just more or less just having everything outlined, having a system, basically checks and balances. Don't just wing it. Don't just say, oh, I hope that doesn't come up, because it will surface and it will haunt you. So there's two. You have a buyer and you have a seller. So the seller starts with, which one is this? This is the buyer. Okay, so a buyer goes into escrow. So I'm not gonna literally go down every single thing here, because it would take probably 2 hours. But these are just things that I have learned over the 17 years. If something has come back to haunt me for some reason, I will make sure that does it apply on every file? No, but at least I am aware of it and I'm checking it off. So the first thing, I don't always do it, you'll see there's a question mark. Do you deactivate the emails from the client? Some of them, they still wanna see those emails. Some of them, you just wanna cut the cord and you wanna make sure. So, and some of them, if you delete it, they're like, where did my emails go? And you know they're gonna be looking on Zillow. So it's just something I have set up. This is one of the most important things. Create an MLS search. Once you go into escrow on a house, but this is a buyer, keep in mind you're a buyer's agent. You go into escrow on a house, your inspection is not happening until day 7, your appraisal is not happening until like day 13. What if a comp or a new listing comes up in day 2 or day 3? You need to know, because that can either help you or it can hurt you. So it's very important, if you go in escrow on 123 Main Street, you better set up a search for that subdivision for that similar property. I mean, you don't have to, but this is, to me, it's very important, because I've been in the spot to where it's like, okay, the negotiation comes up where they want $5,000 for an AC, or they want $10,000 because of the appraisal. If something came up in that subdivision, and say there was a closing, and the appraiser didn't know about it, and the buyer's agent didn't know about it, that could help you, that could save the deal. This is just transaction coordinating stuff. Make sure the executed RPA, addendums, and counteroffers get sent to everybody. That's on there because there's a couple times in the beginning I just never sent it to the client. They're like, where's my executed contract? It sounds simple, but just make sure that everybody has everything. Earnest money in escrow. I always email this timeline to a client so they can never say, well, you never told me when my due diligence is up. So this, like I said, I have a system set up. This is just my spreadsheet template. I'll just cut and paste it and I'll put in the dates. Your EMD is due on 6/10. Your due diligence is up, so on and so forth, and I include myself on the email, I include the escrow company. This is so they can never say, and it's just, hey, put these important deadlines on your calendar. Send them the docs and the disclosures, sky slope, this is all TC stuff. Make sure the listing agent confirms in writing that the electricity and everything's on, because if you send an inspector out there, now you've got another argument, you've got another, who's paying for the reinspection? Now I want 5 days more due diligence. It's a headache you don't need. If you just get it in writing, so that's the first thing I do on day 1 is email a listing agent. Are all utilities on? Yes, they're on. Okay, good, you have it in writing. Order your home inspection, this is all TC stuff. Make sure they change MLS, SRPD. This is another one, verify the HOA fees. You can't verify, obviously, until they give you the resale package, but if you're in escrow and the MLS says it's $100 a month for the HOA, and then you go check the MLS and every other listing in there says it's $200 a month, that should raise a red flag. So it's always something, and I always check the website that shows if there's a SID, because just because MLS says there's no SID or extra fee, there could be a SID. So it's something I want to know on day 1. Again, it's happened to me in the past, so I put it on there. Most of this doesn't apply for every transaction, but it's having that buffer in place so that you don't have this happen to you. If there's an LLC or a trust, you need to get all that. Inspection, request repairs, solar transfer, this should probably be higher up in the list, but you know, you've all done solar, they're all different. It's a purchase, it's a power purchase agreement. some of these take 30 days. I've dealt with some of these where the loan is done in 20 days and the solar transfer takes 30 days. So that's just something you need to be aware of. This is all just basic TC stuff, order appraisal, HOA docs, order home warranty, let's see. So down here, I will, if they're still looking in the MLS, once you get past loan and contingency and inspections and appraisal, you can delete their MLS, audit the final settlement statement just to make sure everybody's line items are correct. Don't just wait until you're at the escrow company. You know, a couple days before the signing, ask the escrow company for a settlement statement to make sure all the items are correct. Schedule your walkthrough, schedule the signing. So these are all just more or less just last minute items, but the last minute items, if you've been burned on it before, you know, like you got a closing, it's a really good client, but you forgot to get them a gift. Now you're scrambling, you gotta go buy whatever it is that you buy your clients, you know, have that done a week before. So it's literally just, everything's at the closing day, you've got closing, you go give them keys. So that's more or less, let's see if I missed anything on the end. And I can email this if you guys are interested to Nicole if you want a copy of this.
Mike, if you scroll up, what's that box off to the side that's
This?
Yeah, what's that over there on the right?
This is just the email that I'm sending once they go into escrow. This is just a cut and paste that I'm sending to them. These are your
So you
deadlines.
have that on your Excel file, you have that cut and paste ready to go right there?
Yeah, I'll just take that box and just send it in an email.
Okay. But that's the only one, you don't have it on any of the other templates on there, do you?
I think I have a different box on the listing sheet.
If you click on it, does it then create a box over to the right, or does that always?
Oh,
just
no,
sit
no,
there?
this is just an Excel
It
note.
just sits there.
It's either a note or a comment.
Okay.
And then post-closing, what's on here that's, you know, make sure, Zillow goes back and forth. Sometimes you have to manually add it, but recently they've been adding them. You always want to get your sales, whatever platform you're using for like the public to view you, whether it's Google Business or some people use Yelp. I've always used Zillow for, you know, Zillow, here's my sales. After the sale, email client Zillow review. I'll just email the client like, hey, I know you're busy with the move, but I would really appreciate it if you could give me a review. Thank you very much. So at that point, it's, you know, now when I'm meeting new, I got a call last night, hey, I received one of your postcards, you know, whether it's a QR code or it's a link in my email signature, hey, if you're shopping realtors, which I'm sure you are, you know, go check out my reviews, because if you just called somebody else and they told you they'd do it for a point less than me, there's probably a reason why. Go check their reviews. If you're looking for the cheapest guy, I might not be the fit for you, but check the reviews. So if they have a platform or a way to search you, like I said, it can be anything. It can be Google Business, it can be Zillow, there's probably a few different ways where they can, but to me, that's very important. This is all just closing out, get paid, scheduling follow-ups. Let's see. This one here, add all the parties to my calendar. So that one's kind of like if, you know, you do a transaction and you're working with the buyers and maybe they have like their parents involved or their kids involved in the transaction, and you give them a business card and now you add them to your database too. So that's the buyer side kind of condensed. Questions? And then the listing side, I saved for the last one because it is a little bit more involved. Do I have until like 10? Okay, thanks. So the listing side, again, it's the escrow part of it is the same, but it's more or less what you do when you get that phone call, hey, I'm thinking of selling my house. It's not like, oh, you're gonna get the listing. This is when you get a seller lead. This is literally everything I do. And this probably takes more of my day because to me, I try to get more listings. I think out of 60 closings last year, I might've been 35 listings, 25 buyers, so I'm slightly more, and I want to focus on listings for, you know, listings are different reasons. They create more business, it's more time management, but at any rate, the first thing I'll do is I'll send them an email, comps, I'll send them a welcome, I'll send them my website, and that's, again, it's just a template. I don't sit there and make up a story every single time. It's an email template, and it's a saved cut and paste template. Thank you for contacting me, here's my review, so on and so forth. We should all have one of those. However you do it, it's up to you. But first thing you want to do is make sure they have that. Set up, in the MLS, set up email for comps, and then make your docs. This box here, this is what I put in my folder. So I go to a listing appointment, and this is it's not a listing class, but I go with a laptop, and I go with an actual black Realty One group folder. So if they want to do everything digitally or if they want to do a folder, you still, me, I'm old fashioned. I like to give them something tangible, hand them a folder, a nice Realty One group folder, business card, a nice, probably about 15 pages in there. This is what I put in there. So I'll put in sample, just listed postcards. So I let them know we do a little bit more than just throw it on the MLS. We're gonna do a nice glossy postcard, just listed, 500 of your neighbors are gonna get it. That's the first thing they see. They flip it over, there's a QR code, and I show them with my phone, and it brings them to the virtual tour. So that's usually within the first 5 minutes of the listing appointment. So it's kind of showing them, like, yes, it's old fashioned, but it's still a little bit more with the times. And now that most people know how to go into a restaurant and scan a QR code, and they know that's how you get your menu, I think a lot more people know how to use QR codes now, so that's the first thing I show them. I'll give them one of those silly calendar magnets. We'll go over all the MLS stats and the median price, the inventory, MLS comps, a CMA. I'll show them the Zestimate. I always bring a Zestimate just to kind of show them this is not what I think the house is worth. This is what the public thinks that your house is worth. I have an iBuyer printout that I bring in so many words that says don't you sell your house to an iBuyer. Always bring a net sheet. I bring a list of my sales right before I get to the actual listing agreement. I'll show them, this is my resume, 12 months, 62 closings, past 12 months, and I'll show them, you know, whether it's hyper local, if it's somebody that says I want to list in, I'm probably 50-50, Las Vegas and Henderson, but to the Henderson person, for somebody that is selling a lot of Henderson townhomes or condos, which I do slightly more, that's what they want to see. If it's a, you know, $3 million listing appointment in McDonald Highlands, I've never sold one of those, so maybe I'm not the right guy for the job, but I bring that printout to show them, you should be talking to a couple different agents, but make sure you know who you're dealing with. This is my list of sales. That's one of the things I make sure that they see. Agent bio, it's just a quick who I am, you know, click on this QR code for my reviews, and then the listing forms. So that's the most important thing. So you'll see it's color coded. This is what you do basically to get the listing. Go preview the property, do a walkthrough with them. If there's a vacant listing in that subdivision and they think their house is worth 400 and you've got a vacant listing listed at 390, it's been on the market 30 days, go take them into that house. I will do that and I'll say, see, your house is not worth 400, but in a nice way, of course. Review all the docs. So, you know, you get your foot in the door, you go there and you're kind of, you know, here's my paperwork, here's my docs. Some of them don't even want to see the net sheet. Some of them don't even want to see the paperwork. Say, I'll just leave this with you. Call me if you have any questions. But again, this is a kind of a mental checklist. Like when I go to a listing appointment, I'm not pulling up my Excel spreadsheet. You have to mentally have it so you know that when you get that phone call, the first thing you want to do is get your foot in the door. When you get your foot in the door, you want to get them the folder in front of you, and then ultimately the deal is that the idea is to have them sign. Sign your docs, schedule your photo shoot. A lot of this is just TC stuff. Order your signpost, make sure all the utilities are on. This is something that seems simple, but if you don't have this in place and you do a listing and the photographer shows up and there's no electricity, you've got a problem. So these are just little steps to safeguard to make sure you're not gonna have any issue. Stage the house, get a copy of LLC items, keys, lockboxes. This is all basic stuff we know. Again, this is not a listing class. I'm just gonna kind of scan through to see if there's anything on here. A lot of this is just once you get the listing on the market, just making sure you've got it on all the different social media. I try to put it on all the different Facebook, Instagram. I don't do it all in the same day, but to make sure it's getting out there. And then everything else just kind of goes into escrow. So this is more or less the escrow checklist again, but it's from the seller side. But I'm not going to go through every single step here, but it's kind of the same thing. You know, as a buyer's agent, you've got 2 days to put up EMD. As a listing agent, you've got 2 days to order resale, all those basic things. It's not a listing class, but that's basically, it looks like it's a lot, but when you go back to the screen, like this, for example, the whole point of this class is to be organized. If you have, I think the most I've ever had is 13 in escrow at once, and it gets pretty busy, but if you have everything organized, well, maybe 6 of those you don't have a task coming up today, but maybe you do have 2 EMDs that have to go in, and you do have a home inspection, so it does get busy. But if you're organized, you know, if you're not organized and you have one listing and you have one buyer, and then the phone rings, you're like, oh, I don't know if I can take on another client. That's not a good real position to be in. There are some people that if that's all you can handle and that's all you want to sell, that's cool. But if you want to get to a point of closing 5, 6, 7 deals a month, you know, and again, this is just individual, this is not a team. Creating the team is obviously a whole nother class, which I know nothing about, but there is a way to basically have 8 or 10 or 12 in escrow and still keep everything moving along, keeping your day relatively sane, and still creating the pipeline so that you're busy next month and next month. So that's pretty much it. Questions?
Question over here.
Yes.
So the systems look like they're relatively easy to put in place if you know what you want to do and how you want to do it. What I come across in working with other agents, and even myself I struggle with, is how do you find the mental discipline to follow up and keep your systems moving? I feel like that's like a big struggle we all have as agents, is having that mentality.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like just goal setting. Like if you do a 1-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan, and you break it down into, this is what I need to do every month, this is what I need to do every week, what I need to do every day, it's more or less just like staying motivated. And if it's like, well, I want to sell 50 houses this year, but I'm cool if I only sell 10, that's a different, that's like a self-help thing, I think. I don't know anything about that. But that's more or less like, I just look at, if this is the goal that I've set, this is what you have to do to get to that point. And I set my goals every year. I don't, I think I closed, 2 years ago I closed 50 or 51, last year I closed 60. So I think this year I'm trying to close 70, and if it doesn't happen, okay, well, is my life gonna change, or do I need to change something differently? So it's more or less, this is the system, and it's basically, it is a proven system, it will work, but it's putting it into play. And if you have the idea, but you don't put the plan into action, it's not gonna go anywhere. It's like anything. If you take a class on like farming or social media, and you're excited and you leave and you're all fired up, but then you don't do anything with it, it's not gonna go anywhere. So it's just basically, keep your eye on the prize, I guess is the old saying, but it's breaking it down into, in order to get to that point, I need to send out this many postcards, this many letters, I need to make this many phone calls, and it's just breaking it down. And for me, the week and the daily, the weekly and the monthly is what's worked for me. And it's not new, it's not, I didn't reinvent anything, it's just what has worked for me, and it's slowly evolved into that, so.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much for having me. Yes, yep, I'm gonna email to Nicole the two spreadsheets. Yep.
What do you use for QR code?
So I have 3. So it is. So here's one I was gonna use for. I live in Green Valley Ranch, and they have the magazine that goes, and I didn't end up. Where is it? Oh, here it is. So down here, and this was just a sample, it never got published. GPS-based mobile app, that's our Realty One Group app.
Oh, yeah.
And it's up here, it says something like, hey, if you're in front of a property, scan my QR code. Weekly property updates, that's just a data capture screen. So if I get a hit that says somebody was on your website, and it says enter your name and your property address, so I'll know that they want a weekly update for, whatever address. And that's my online reviews. So that
You could Google
Yeah.
QR code generator and
Okay.
come up with a lot of.
Oh, no, you could just go to the website, and you can go to, like right here, like if I go to,
QR Code Monkey is a free app. Mark, just to answer your question, I just watched a Rock University class, and it was, Justin was talking about it, and QR
There's a
Code
lot,
Monkey,
yeah.
there's a lot
of
out
them
there. There's a free one where you just take the link of what Mike's talking about and you load it in.
but if you're on Chrome and you just go right here and click this, and just click create QR code, it's right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank
And then you download it, and that's what I use, I'll put on like the back of a postcard, or
Okay.
I should start putting them on the tables at home. Call me if you need a house. All right, thank you guys.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you, Mike. That was amazing information. Now you just gotta go take some of it and use it to help your business. Remember, no matter how you slice it, greatness is a choice. Let's go out and be great. And for all of you that are going Saturday, looking forward to it.